us online, and there I am. Hello, good morning. Yes, so I just want to look in the camera and say good morning to everyone who is joining us behind computer screens literally across the world. So can we give them a good big 5 stones good morning? Now, I know some of you right now are saying, wow, Pastor Tom, you sure do look different this morning. I'm just kidding. My name is Debra, and I have the honor to lead this church with Pastor Tom. He is actually in Alabama at Daystar Church. That's our home church, our sending church. Their pastor is in Uganda, so he is filling in. But don't worry, he will be back next Sunday. Now, if this is your first time here, or maybe you haven't been here for a few Sundays, we are in the middle of a relationship series, and Pastor Tom has already gone over the covenant of marriage and the pursuit of marriage. And I just want to say, last week he kind of rolled me under the bus a couple of times, and I told him, don't you worry, I'm speaking next Sunday. I got all the dirt to dish. So get out your pens and your paper. I'm going to tell you all the things about him. I'm just kidding. He's great. He's the same as he is up here, as he is sitting at home on the couch. And I just love him, and he's an amazing husband and father. And I'm so thankful to him that he allowed me to have this time with you guys that he normally has. And I love marriage. Like, I'm passionate about marriage. I love talking about it. I love being married, and I love hearing what other people have to say about it. So as I was researching and kind of getting ready for this message today, I went where we all go when we're looking for more information, Google. And while I was there, I found some interesting things people had to say about marriage. And so I thought I would share just a few of those with you. I've got them up on the screen. The first one says, before I got married, I didn't even know there was a wrong way to put milk back in the fridge. But there is, isn't there? It goes in the door, like that's where it's supposed to go. All right, so the next one says, the wife says, someone invented a laundry folding machine. The husband says, I already have one of those. It's called a wah. It's called me. I fold the laundry. It's called me. I wasn't going to say wife. So the next one says, all I want is for you to love me and let me put my cold feet on you. If Tom were here, he'd say amen. He says, I have the coldest feet. And I told him he has the warmest body, though. So the next one says, my wife wanted 2 kittens, but I am the man of this house, so we got 2 kittens. And then the last one is, the miss and I have been married for so long, she can finish my sentences. She also starts most of them and supplies the middle parts too. That is Tom's favorite. I don't know why. Now, these are funny, right? Because they're true. There's always some truth and humor. And so we've called this series, It's Complicated, because relationships can be complicated, but they don't have to be. Now, next week, Pastor Tom will be back, and he's going to be talking about being single and what that looks like. But the book of Hebrew tells us that marriage should be honored by all. So regardless if you're married today or if you're not married, I feel like there is something that we can learn from this relationship that God has given us. This June, Tom and I will have been married for 20 years. Yes, thank you. We got married when we were 11, so some people didn't think it was going to work out, but it seems to be doing well. No, we dated for 3 years before that. So within those 23 years, we have really learned a lot about each other. And one of the things that we learned to do well was to make our marriage a priority. Now, we didn't always do that. If you've heard the chicken story, you know that's not where we started. We've grown into that. We've learned how to. And ministry life can be fast-paced, it can be crazy. There is always something happening. There's an event or a crisis. And, Sunday comes every week. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but like when you get home and you're like, whew, I'm done with Sunday, and you get up Monday morning, it's coming again. It's only like 6 days away. You got to get ready for it again. And then all of that hustle and bustle, you can kind of get lost in it. But we decided long ago that if we wanted a healthy church, then we needed to have a healthy marriage. Now, you maybe have heard the alarming statistic that says that the divorce rate is climbing and climbing, but that's not accurate anymore. And I was so excited to hear that the divorce rate is actually going down. But what saddened me is that they did a study, and it's found that the marriage rate is also going down. People are choosing to just live together instead of get married, which is what God had intended for us. Now, I know that Tom has already said it, but I feel like it needs repeating. Your marriage is under attack. that which God put together is under attack. Since the first book of the Bible, the enemy has been attacking marriages. And those attacks aren't just going to stop because the marriage rate is going down and the divorce rate is going down. He's not like, all right, I'm winning, I'm going to back off. If anything, he's just going to keep hitting it harder. So it would be foolish for us to think, well, my marriage is safe. In fact, it says in 1 Peter, stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. You notice it doesn't say that he found somebody who was already out looking for trouble. No, he is looking for someone and something to devour. So this Sunday, I want to give you 3 things that you can do to guard your marriage against these attacks. So if you get out your notes, the first thing that you want to do is you want to guard your eyes. Now, I think probably every man in this room just went, because men most likely get the guard your eyes message. But ladies, I think that we all need to guard our eyes. Men, women, if you're married, if you're not married, guarding your eyes also isn't just for sexual purity, though it is a crucial part of purity. Now, in fact, they've done studies, dozens of studies, that show that women are actually viewing pornography at a faster rate than men. In the Old Testament, Lot's wife couldn't stop looking. It ended in her destruction. Our eyes can get us in big trouble. Last week we talked about Eve and how she was in the garden and she saw the fruit and it was desirable to her. So she ate it and she gave it to her husband. Now, on a side note, husbands, you get mad at us because we don't want to decide what to eat, but you see what happened the last time we made that choice? I'm just saying, go with El or Casa. We talked about it last week. It'll always work out well for you. Now, I don't know if Lot's wife saw like a really great pair of shoes or if she was thinking about that thing that she was looking at, that she had had her eye on the whole time, that God had already told her no. She got to guard your eyes. You got to guard your eyes, ladies. Now, men tend to be more visual unless they're looking for something and it's right in front of them. I don't know. So typically men are more visual, yes. They've done studies and biologically we're all the same, but when they look at a man's brain, it just lights up when he is shown tempting images. Now, have you heard the phrase, your eyes are the window to your soul? Jesus was actually the first one to say that. He says, where you direct your eyes, your heart will be directed also. In Matthew it says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And to me, this verse, what this says and what it makes me think about when I was reading it is, have you ever had that TV series that everybody's like, oh my gosh, you have to watch this? Or that book, they're like, oh, this is like the best book you need to read this book. And so you watch that first episode and you're like, oh, I don't know how I feel. Do I feel kind of icky? And they're like, no. Just keep watching. Get past the first couple episodes. It's going to get better, I promise. And so you're like, okay. And you watch it again and you're still kind of, that's that darkness that's getting in. But it's really scary that we need to watch is when we've been watching it for a while and we don't have that feeling anymore. So just listen to that. Think about that. Jesus was so serious about it. He said, if your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out. How many of us, we walk around with one eye? Or maybe both are gone. But thankfully, Job came up with another solution. He says, I have made a covenant with my eyes not to look with lust at young women. When it comes to marriage, we should make the same covenant. But I don't think we should just make this covenant to not look at young women. I think we should make this covenant with our eyes not to look lustfully at anyone or anything. Now, if it's your spouse, you look lustfully as all you want, because that is yours to look at. So the world is racing towards immorality, right? It's not getting any closer to morality. It's headed in the opposite direction. And we can't stop those tempting images from coming at us. I'll never forget. So when my boys were little and we would take them to the mall, and there's certain stores in the mall that are really good for wives to shop at for their husbands, but Victoria is not keeping any secrets, if I could just say that. So my boys, as we're taking them in the mall, I want to do the best that I can to help them keep their eyes as pure short as they can and not look at these, photoshopped, airbrushed, scantily clad women. And so we would come around the corner and I know it was coming and I would say, "Look away, boys, look away." And they would all bounce their eyes and look away. And so I was like, gosh, I wonder if this is going to kind of stick with them. And I'll never forget, my son was probably about 10 and we were going in the mall. And as we came around the corner, I heard him say, "Look away, boys, look away." And so I was like, yes, he's got it. They had learned to bounce their eyes with that tempting images or ahead of them. And I feel like as adults, we've got to learn how to bounce our eyes as well, right? Bounce your eyes when you're at the gym. You're working out, bounce them over here. I'm not looking, or keep them right down here with what I'm reading, right? When you're on your phone, bounce your eyes as you quickly scroll past that thing. When you're at work, if someone's looking at you, you can bounce your eyes and look the other way. We may not be able to stop those tempting images that head our way, but we can make the decision to look the other way. Tom always likes to quote that famous theologian that says, "You can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from making a nest in your hair." Your eyes become hungry. You look at that, so it's hard, but you've got to make that conscious effort to bounce your eyes. It may seem practical and simple, but it can be difficult. Learn to bounce your eyes. Men, looking at women hurts your wife. Now she may say, "Oh no, it's good. I can appreciate beauty and she's beautiful, so go ahead and look." She's lying. She's lying to herself. She's lying to you. When you look lustfully at someone else, it makes her feel like, "Well, I don't look like that. I didn't even look like that when I was that age." Is that what he's wanting? It makes us feel unwanted. Don't look at a woman that way. You want intimacy in your relationship? Don't make us feel like we're not the ones that you want. And ladies, the way that makes you feel when your husband looks at another woman that way is the same way that you make him feel when you look lustfully at what someone else has. "Oh, so-and-so's marriage, have you seen? They're so happy together, they don't fight like we do. Have you seen their house? It's so big. Not like ours, we barely all fit in here. Did you see what he got her for an anniversary gift? I know how much it costs because I looked it up." When you tell him, without telling him, that what he's giving for you, providing for you, and doing for you isn't enough, it creates that same feeling, that feeling of inadequacy. So guard your eyes. The next thing is, guard your ears. It says in Proverbs, "Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. They are for good. Protect them." You have to be careful what you allow in your ears. The more you hear something, the more you believe it. It's why politicians repeat themselves over and over again. The first time they say it, you're like, "He's not doing that. There's no way." And then the next time you're like, and then the next time it's like, "Well, maybe." And then by the time he's done with his campaign trail, you're like, "Yes, I believe it," because he said it over and over and over again. It's the same reason why you want to memorize something, you repeat it over again. And your friends can have a huge impact in your life. If you're around a bunch of ladies who like to husband bash, run. Be like Joseph, drop your coat and run the other way. Because as you sit there and they talk about, "Oh, he's so lazy. He never does what he says. I've asked him to do this and it's 6 weeks and he still hasn't touched it. He's so dumb. He can't." You start looking at your husband because those bombs have gone off in your ears and you're like, "Well, he is lazy. Well, he doesn't do what I ask him to do." So you start believing these things whether they're true or not because your words have power. God designed our brains to look for ways to prove what we say is right. He made us in his image, and he created everything with words. "Let there be light," and there was light. He gave us that same ability. In Proverbs, it says, "The tongue has the power of life and death." That means the more you hear it, it becomes more real to you. And the more real it becomes to you, the more likely you are to say it. And the more likely you are to say it, the more likely it is to believe it. You say it, you believe it, you hear it, you say it, you believe it. It's a cycle. Be careful what you say and be careful what you allow yourself to hear. In Mark, it says, "Consider carefully what you hear. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you and even more." When my boys were little and weren't listening, my son would look at them and say, "Son, the good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Shut one and start using the others." Oh, allow good things into your ears and shut down the negative talk. Maybe it's not your friends who are talking negative about your spouse. Maybe it's your spouse who's saying negative things in your home. Change the atmosphere of your home by speaking life. If our words have power, then let's start acting like it. And on that side note, it's not even in my notes here, as we're talking about protecting our spouse's ear in our home and changing the atmosphere, the way you speak to your spouse and your spouse speaks to you is the way your children hear that. So you want to guard their ears as well. Because when they hear you talk, that's how they talk to each other. And then that's how they start talking to you. And what's even more alarming is that's how they're going to talk to their future spouse. Guard your ears. Guard their ears. Bring life. Bring life into your home. If you want to see your husband become the man you know he can be, why not convince him of that? Look at you today. You are looking good. Even if he didn't look good, you wouldn't have married him, right? So say it. Tell him, you are so strong. Thank you for opening that jar. We wouldn't have had dinner tonight if it weren't for you. Tell him the things he needs to hear. Women, we have almost the supernatural ability to always build our husbands up. Tom says that he wishes he was half the preacher that I say that he is. It's because the Lord given me this amazing gift to be able to let him see himself the way that God made him to be. Now, building up is always a little more difficult than tearing down. Tearing down is easy. Anyone can see something wrong, point it out, and make fun of it, right? Saying what they need to hear sometimes takes a little faith. And you can find that by finding something that they're doing and highlighting it. I mean, surely they are doing something right. Thanks for filling up the gas tank. Now I don't have to be cold or hot or touch that gross thing, right? Thanks for deciding what we're going to have to dinner because I didn't want to have to decide. Thanks for putting your socks in the laundry basket. High five. That one was fantastic, right? Men, if you are more visual, then I believe that your wife is more audio. We need to hear what you're thinking. I kid you not, I knew a man that one time told me, "Well, I told my wife when we got married I loved her. I haven't changed my mind. If I will, I'll let her know." What? Tell this woman this. We need to hear it. I think there's a disconnect sometimes in what men are thinking and then what they actually say. So guys, I'm going to help you out. Get out your note file in your phone or on your paper and you can write these things down. Tell your wife, "You are beautiful. I like the way you look in those jeans. You smell good today. Hey, thanks for cleaning up the house. It looks amazing. I just love the way you put that together. Did Joanna Gaines call you to get tips? Because this looks fantastic. I think you are incredible at what you do." Now, if you go home and you say, "I think you're beautiful, the jeans you have on are nice, Joanna Gaines says something, and incredible," she's gonna know. You know these things are true. You wouldn't have married your spouse. You guys just didn't fall, "Oh yeah, let's get married." She's beautiful. Tell her. She does a good job at things. Let her know. We need to hear it. As much as you need to hear it to feel puffed up, we need to hear it as well. Do you know, this thing drives me crazy, but Tom will not let me talk bad about myself. It drives me crazy, but it is so good. He won't let me talk bad about myself. When I say, "Gosh, I'm so fat. Why did I gain all this weight? I can't," he'll say, "Stop. Stop right there. That's my gift you're talking about. And I don't appreciate people talking about her that way." He said, "That's your body, but God gave it to me as my gift. So stop talking about my wife that way." Don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may be benefit to those who listen. Guard your spouse's ears. Don't let them hear hateful, negative things from you. They may be at work where they hear hateful, negative things all the time there. "Oh, this wasn't turned in on time. I can't believe you're late again. 5 seconds, come on." Words to tear people down. Speak life to your spouse. All right, the last thing, guard your heart. Not too long ago, there was a man who felt like his wife was being distant and unloving. He wanted to know how his wife would react if he left her without telling her where he was going. So he decided to write her a note saying that he was tired of her and didn't want to live with her anymore. He knew it was petty and perhaps a bit childish, but he needed to know how his wife felt about him. And besides, this was more of a prank than a test, right? So after writing the letter, he put it on the table in the bedroom and he climbed underneath the bed to hide until his wife got home. He hoped to hear her outraged response and crying with despair. When the wife eventually came back home, she saw the letter on the table and read it. After a few moments of silence, she picked up a pen and added something to the letter. And then she started to get changed. She was whistling a happy little tune and singing and dancing while she did so. She seemed so overjoyed rather than crushed and in despair. The man was incredibly shocked and hurt, but things only got worse. The wife grabbed her phone and she dialed a number. Her husband was listening from under the bed as she started chatting with someone. "Hey babe," she said into the phone, "I'm just getting changed now. I'll join you in a bit." Oh, and for that other fool, it finally dawned on him that I was cheating on him, and he left. I was really wrong to have married him. I wish you and I had met earlier. See you soon, honey. And she hung up the phone and walked out of the room. After some time, the husband heard the front door open and close. His wife was gone. In tears and very upset, he climbed out from under the bed and stumbled over to read what his unfaithful wife had written at the end of his letter. Through teary eyes, he read, "I could see your feet under the bed, you idiot. I'm going out to buy bread." Your heart will make you do dumb stuff, right? I mean, that's some of the worst advice you will ever hear is follow your heart. The heart wants what the heart wants. Do you know they sell this garbage in stores like Kirkland's and Hobby Lobby, those stores we love to shop at? They have signs with it written on there. It should say, "Follow your heart, ... to destruction." The heart wants what the heart wants. And you flip it over, it says, until it wants something else, and then it wants that. Don't ever follow your heart. It will always lead you in the wrong direction. Well, how can I know this? Jeremiah tells us plainly, the human heart is the most deceitful things of all and desperately wicked. Desperately wicked. Who truly knows how bad it is? That is bad. Someone that was living like that back then said they don't even know how bad your heart is. Don't follow your heart. If you don't rule your emotions and your feelings, they will rule over you. Whatever we feel deeply, we communicate with words and actions. And our hearts completely sometimes goes against all logic, like hiding underneath a bed. Right? You may have stayed in a dating relationship for way too long, or at a job, or in a toxic relationship or situation because your heart just didn't say no. Your heart said, it feels like that I should be in here longer. My heart wants me to stay. It's not time yet. And it ended up causing more damage than it ever should have ever caused. In Proverbs, it says, those who trust in themselves are fools, but those who walk in wisdom are kept safe. Let's just think a minute about all the words we use to describe our hearts. Your heart skips, melts, leaps, can attack. It's heavy, it's full, it's faint. You can have a bleeding heart, a hard heart, a broken heart. You can lose your heart, cross your heart, and you cannot even have a heart. Now, your heart sounds a little schizophrenic to me. If it were a person, I would say stay away from them. They seem a little cray-cray and all over the place, right? God never intended for us to follow our hearts. Our emotions are good tools, but they're never meant to be our master. Those feelings that we have, they're like those indicator lights that Pastor Thomas talked about. You should use them, recognize them, find out where they're coming from, and then take all of that information and give it to God. Several years ago, a 34-year-old teacher was fired for having an affair with her 13-year-old student. And when she was asked about it later, she said, well, I just got caught up in it all, and my heart wanted what it wanted. Yeah, her heart led her right to divorce, being fired, and 7 years in jail. You know, the grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence. It's probably because it's over a septic tank. If your grass is looking brown and deadish, get out the hose, water it, tend it, take care of your grass. Now, how can I guard my heart, you may ask? Do you know what guard really means? I thought it was like to block or seal or put a protection around it. But in the original Hebrew, guard and keep were the same words. It meant to set a watchman over it. I'm going to give you permission to be weird. Yep, weird. You might be asking, what do you mean be weird? I'm already a little weird. So Tom and I, we have this rule that we never enter a vehicle, have a meeting, or allow ourselves to be alone with someone of the opposite sex. If it's a one-on-one meeting, it needs to happen in a public place. Not too long ago, just like last week, we were having a meeting at our house with some of our leaders, and because our driveway is not real big and our HOA don't play around with that, we had to take our cars and park them down at the pool's little parking spot they have. Now you can see it from our house. It's just right around the corner. So Tom was walking back, and one of our leaders was driving by, and she said, "Hey, do you want me to give you a ride back to the house?" The house was like 5 houses down. He knew I was in that house. But he said, "No, that's okay, thanks. Thanks, I'm good." She just laughed and said, "Okay." It's weird, right? But is it? It's not that we don't trust each other, and it's not that I don't trust that leader. She is a dear friend of mine and completely trustworthy. I had no thought that anything would ever happen. But we're weird. We put up high walls. We put a watchman on top. I have the passwords to all of his computers and all of his devices and his phone, and he has the same for mine. In fact, we put on the face recognition on each other's phone because I didn't want to remember all of that. So I can just pick up the phone, and my phone my face opens his phone. And I can check his browsing history and his text messages, and he can check mine, and it's an open flow like that. And it's not because I don't trust him. I trust him 100%. It's the devil that I don't trust. And we decided that we're not going to let the devil have a foothold, have an inch, or have a step in our marriage. And we guard our marriage by making it a priority. We schedule a date night. We find times to get away for each other, just the two of us. Let me just say right now, if you have not gone somewhere, just the two of you in a while, find a babysitter, pay somebody, find a grandparent, get away, if not just for overnight. It is amazing. You will forget how fun it is to be with your spouse. And especially because there's not someone going, "How much farther? Are we there yet? Why are we staying here? Can I have something to drink? I'm hungry. I have to pee." It doesn't matter. It's just the two of you. It's great. They're not there. I mean, I love my little people, but it's really good when he and I get alone. And we look for ways to spoil one another. He knows of ways to spoil me, and I know of ways to spoil him, and we do that. But can I tell you what our biggest secret is? We put each other second. You're probably like, "What? Hold the phone second? You telling me about spoiling and high walls and what? Second? Don't you mean first?" No. If I really want to guard my heart, I have decided to make Jesus my number one and make my husband my second. And as much as I love him, and I do, and as happy as he makes me, and he's a funny guy, he will never be able to meet all of my needs. And he was never meant to. He's human. He cannot possibly meet all of my needs. He will fail me eventually. And I can't meet all of his needs. I'm human. I will fail him eventually too. Now God did this amazing thing where he allows me to be the one to meet most of his needs and some of his needs. But if I could meet all of his needs, he would need to worship me. And there's only one that needs to be worshiped, and only one that can meet all of our needs, and that's God. And you can guard your heart, and you can guard your spouse's heart by daily prioritizing your time with God. If you love your spouse and you want to have this incredible relationship, you have to make sure and protect your time with Jesus. In Ezekiel, it says, "I will give you a new heart. A new spirit I will put within you, and I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh." It's just not our hearts that are broken. We are all broken without Jesus. We can't fix ourselves, and we certainly can't expect our spouse to fix us. They are broken too. Sin did that. It breaks us. It divides us. It removes us from his presence. It puts up barriers. You know, the first thing that Adam and Eve did after they sinned in the garden? They covered up. So God did the only thing that God could do. He sacrificed himself for us. And he promised to trade us that broken heart and that broken spirit for a new one. Jesus has the ability to totally transform us from the inside out, if you'll just allow him to do it.